Have you ever wanted to make a manga animation like this? Hi, I'm Noah, and I'm going to be teaching you how to make a simple manga animation like that of your own.
First things first, you're going to need a few apps. The apps I recommend you download are Capcut, IBIS Paint X, and Magic Eraser. All these apps are free and important to the process of making this animation. The next step of this process is to find the panel that you want to animate. This may sound easy, but it's a lot more complex than you think. All panels can be animated, but some are easier to do than others. Take this panel from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, for example. This one wouldn't be good to use when making an animation because it has a very detailed art style and it's also colored. It's way harder to animate a colored panel than a non-colored one, and you'll see why in a few steps. I think I'll use this panel of Chozo from Jujutsu Kaisen. It's simply drawn and it's not colored. Now we're ready to get started, so open up IBS Paint. Press on My Gallery and press on the plus at the bottom left of your screen. Import a picture from your camera roll and select this chosen manga panel. Now what you want to do is erase all the surrounding images of what you're going to animate. Suggest erasing everything around the character. I'll speed up the process on my screen. Now we have everything around our character erased. Make sure you save your current panel that you just erased stuff from to your camera roll. Now we have to separate our limbs. This is entering the redrawing process. What you're going to want to do is save a photo of each part of the body that you want to move with everything else erased. What I want to move is the head, upper arms, lower arms, and body. Let's start with the body. As you can see, I erased every other limb of the character besides the body. Now we must redraw in portions of the body to create the illusion that the limbs weren't in our panel to begin with. Do it a little something like this. This is where choosing a colored or more detailed panel would make this step of the process hard. Now that we have redrawn the parts of the body, there's a step that's exclusive to any limbs that go off screen in the panel. What we want to do is take the lasso tool. We want to go down to the bottom left and press the button with 4 arrows. Then, drag the image to make it slightly smaller. Now that our image is slightly smaller, we want to redraw some of the portions of this limb that we wouldn't be able to see in the panel originally. Doing this allows us to move the limb around freely in the animating process. When you're finished, it should resemble a little something like this. Repeat this process for each of the limbs you want to animate, except you don't need to use the lasso tool for the limbs that don't go off the edges. Just make sure you draw a little extra on the end of each limb. Don't forget to save each limb to your camera roll when you're finished. Now that you have all your limbs, the next step is to make sure the background is transparent. Go into Magic Eraser and select Photo. Select one of the limbs that you erased the surrounding area from. Now, once in the Magic Eraser, the app will try to automatically make it transparent. Just undo it and click the wand tool. Then click the surrounding white area outside your limb. If what you see now is just the transparent background, then you're good. If not, just use the Erase and Restore tool to adjust. Finally, save the image to your camera roll. Do this process for each limb that you saved from IBS Paint. Next up, I suggest finding a background that is the size you want your animation to be. I'm personally going to use the simple black background, but you can use whatever. Now we're going to get into Capcut. Once you're in Capcut, start a new project and initially open your background image. Now drag your background length to however long you want your animation to be. I'm going to drag mine to about 4 seconds. Now add an image and add all of your transparent limbs. Now on each of your images, select the overlay option. This will bring the image down so you can put it on top of your background. Do this for each of your limbs. Next, make sure each limb is on the layer you want to resemble the original image. Mine looks a little weird, so we're gonna go over to the layer option. We're gonna make it so we have our body in the way back behind everything else. Then we want to adjust each limb so it is in its respective spot. Now what you see should resemble your original image. Now we're going to make the limbs move. What we're going to be using to make the limbs move is keyframes. At the start of whatever limb you're going to animate first, I'm going to be doing the body. Press this button here to add a keyframe. Now scroll to a later part in the limb and adjust it how you'd like it to move. Bring it to here, and then I'm going to animate my body to go a little forward. This will automatically add another keyframe. Now when playing the clip, the limb will move to the position of the second keyframe. Add more frequent keyframes to increase the speed of the movement. Add less frequent ones to decrease the speed. Do this process to each limb and make sure that each limb is going the direction you would like. Now you should have an animation that looks a little bit like this. Now you have the basic animation portion down. It looks a little funky, but we'll figure that out in the next step. Now we enter the final step of the process, post-production. This is where we add effects and filters. Now I do have Capcut Premium, so some effects might be locked behind it for you. However, there are still loads of effects that are great without Premium. The best tip that I have is to just play with effects. Add ones that sound interesting to you and combine them with others and see how it looks. Don't be afraid to adjust the settings on effects as well. Playing around is the best way to figure out which effects you like. Now, how you add an effect is at the bottom of your screen, click Effects, and go to Video Effects. Now there are loads of effects you can choose from. The two I suggest most are Play Pendulum and Vignette. If you go to Nightclub and scroll down, you can find Play Pendulum. What this does is it makes your animation a bit bouncy. So go to Object and set this to all videos. Now it's a little too zoomed in and a little too bouncy. So what we want to do is adjust it. Let's lower the intensity down and lower the speed a bit as well. We can sharpen it fully so our image looks a bit cleaner. Let's raise the intensity up a bit. Now our animation is zoomed in and looks a bit cleaner. Now I've added all my effects and filters and the video looks much better. Take a look at the comparison of before I added effects and after. The difference is huge. Post-production is one of the most important steps of the process.
Now simply just export your video and you're finished. You just made your very own manga animation. If it didn't turn out the way you pictured, it's fine. It takes time to develop the skills to create what you picture in your mind. Best advice is just play around with things you do not know how to use. That's it for this tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed it and learned something from this. That's all. Bye bye.